Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Game number 2 here between Losira and MMA, and this, of course, again, is from MLG Columbus, the event that did just take place in the grand finals here between, once more, MMA and Losira. We can see spawning here in the bottom left as the blue Terran is MMA, and in the bottom right as the red Zerg, we do have Losira. This time we are on Shakura's Plateau, and game number 1, man, MMA had a whole heap loads of trouble with speedlings, and that was basically it. Losira taking advantage of the fact that MMA had openings into the front of his base, was able to consistently stream speedlings right on in, disrupt the gathering of minerals for MMA, and that made it so that he just wasn't able to contend with the consistent reinforcements. MMA, of course, will be going for that frontal wall off, going to be expecting the 2 depots and barracks here right in the center. That's pretty much the standard, what you will typically see. And back over here, Losira did go for that canceled extractor trick, allowing him to get out that extra drone there before the Overlord popped. So he was, of course, as you could see, 11 out of 10 momentarily. Finally, Overlord is up now, so he will be heading out with that. Back over here, it looks like that drone scout is going to be going cross-positional. You can see moving to the upper left of the map, and at the same time, we do have the Overlord scout heading straight left, and that will be spotting MMA's base if that drone doesn't happen to get there beforehand. Now let's take just a quick look at what MMA is going for. It appears to be just pretty standard play here. We do have that 10 depot, 12 racks, and look, there we go. There's that 13 refinery. Upon seeing that, it looks like, yeah, again, pretty standard stuff. Nothing too unorthodox. Losira pulling back with his drone scout, spotting the fact that there was no wall off here. He is just going to go ahead and assume that MMA wasn't in that position. They will be heading on back down. At the same time, Overlord is scouting the position. MMA pulling back with that SCV was able to spot that Overlord, and that of course tells MMA exactly where Losira is, and now he knows he is just in the right corner. Back over here, drone trying to harass a little bit of the SCV. SCV scout's going to pull out, even though he knows what position he is. MMA of course does want to move out to actually scout what Losira is in fact going for. Drone scout going to be trying to stop the placement of any attachment here for MMA. He's just going to be chilling here, stopping the possibility of dropping that attachment, but unfortunately for him, the first Marine is out right now, and that will, of course, take care of this drone from Losira. Losira not standing much of a chance against this. Really no way he will be able to head out of the base, and there we go. Just one more shot, and it will be see you later. He's actually might... Oh, okay, never mind. Never mind, I thought he was going to get quick regen and would have taken 2 shots, as if that would even make that much of a difference. Factory being placed down right now for MMA, at the same time scouting the main base of Losira. Looks like we did see an extractor first and then spawning pool from Losira after that 15 hatch was dropped. This, of course, allowing him to get that metabolic boost. Pretty much the second that the spawning pool pops up, he's going to be very close to being able to afford that. Expansion just about finished right now, and once that spawning pool finishes, we'll expect to see 2 queens likely, and then 4 initial Zerglings, and that's kind of the standard play, and there we go. Just sticking with the 2 Zerglings for now, and actually we'll be droning from that point. So not going with the typical 4, but just with the 2. We'll be scouting out with that, and then possibly pulling back to grab the Zelnaga towers. Back over here, Overlord repositioning himself, getting ready to pull in for a sacrificial scout later down the road. Back over here, we can see a tech lab coming on the factory, and just streaming out Marines here out of the barracks, and an expansion as well. So very interesting here. We'll be interested to see precisely what MMA decides to go with, given this current composition and the fact that he's fast expanding. Fast expanding, of course, is a really good method, but here we go, Infernal Pre-Igniter Hellions. The big problem with this quick expansion is that you do need map control, and he will, of course, get that once those Hellions do come into play. Won't really expect roaches on this map here from Losira, just given the sheer size and roaches taking so very long to cross a map this large. We'll likely see just Speedling Baneling here from Losira, although he may completely throw a monkey wrench in that theory and actually come out with a roach swarm, but it really isn't expected. Speedling Baneling so very effective against Terran as it is, and given any larger maps, ever increasing that effectiveness. One SCV grabbing that Zelnaga tower, that will of course be shoot away once that Zergling comes within range. Over here, just droning up pretty much is all we're seeing Losira do. We'll be interested to see as well if he decides to go for a 3rd expansion once he scouts the fact that MMA is in fact going for the quick expo. At this point, Losira is unaware of that. He hasn't really seen all that much. We do have 2 Marines heading on out, going to be trying to stop any additional Zergling scouts. In fact, they may catch this one right here. Losira moving up, and see you later, Zergling. MMA with the 3 Marines was able to drop that very quickly, and here is another Overlord. So again, the sacrificial Overlords will be pushing in sometime in the not too distant future here. We're seeing heavy Zergling production right now, as well as that Baneling Nest and the Evolution Chamber. So we're going to be probably seeing some strong push here, some strong aggression from Losira. I would almost expect him to be droning up and coming up for a third, but that is in fact not the case. He's pumping out these Zerglings with that Evolution Chamber, and the fact that that Baneling Nest did just finish right now, we could very well be seeing an attempted Baneling bust here from Losira. First, we'll be moving up those Zerglings into this position. I actually expected him to be scouting up into the third to see if he could catch any scouting units from MMA that would be checking that third, but here come the Infernal Pre-Nerd Hellions. Now, how effective is this going to be? It will all come down to the micro here of these Hellions. They definitely have a tremendous opportunity to do lots of damage here because all there gets is Speedix, but there's the surround. Queen coming in to engage as well, and the Hellion gets dropped. So unfortunately there for MMA, not doing as much damage as he would have really liked. One thing that he did catch though is he saw the Baneling, so he knows to prepare for Banelings, and as a response, look at that, knowing the counterattack is coming, he's actually pulling off his SCVs off the line, back into the main there. Quite some time until that siege check is going to be finished, and that's a little bit of a problem because dealing with these Zerglings and Banelings will be much more difficult without siege tanks basically up in siege mode. So he needs that to finish before this Baneling bust does come. We can see 4 Banelings morphing in right there. There's a 5th, and there is number 6 right there, and that is just enough to bust right through this depot and basically provide him enough splash damage to maybe pull on through and even hit these Marines, depending on how quickly MMA responds. But here we go. Baneling's going to be taking some Marine fire before they actually make it on up, and are they going to be enough? It doesn't look like it. Not enough damage. Zerglings trying to pull in to finally finish off the depots, and they are able to. So right now, Losira again in the main base of MMA. This is like a repeat of last game. The Zerglings doing what they can, but there are a lot of Marines, which is a lot of DPS, and the Zerglings were mopped up quickly. After that initial bust, there just wasn't really enough left over to do too much damage, and I expect these to get taken care of very, very quickly here. It's just a matter of time. It looks like Losira will just be moving around. At the same time, we can see he is in fact coming up with this third expansion, realizing that there is this quick expansion out here for MMA. He does need to get that up and running right now. Zerglings moving across the map will actually be working on these back rocks over here, providing him access up into this position if need be. May actually try to destroy these rocks as well, just in case MMA decides to push into a third in this position. He will have this additional open avenue over here. Back in front of the main, we are just seeing regular Marines and no upgrades actually at the moment. We do have Stimpak coming on through, some medevacs coming into play as well, level 1 upgrade as well from that engineering base sitting here in the left corner of the base. Destructible Rock's almost finished. Let's take a look at what he is doing precisely though. I did see a Roach Warren in production. There it is in fact, so we could be seeing some roaches thrown into the mix at some point. Those, of course, going to do really well against tanks and Marines, especially if he goes as far as to go for burrow roaches with tunneling claws. Those are very, very effective, being able to get right under those tanks and then unsiege right on top of them. You can really do a lot of damage. Really nice spread here from these siege tanks. Really liking this positioning. The only concern is, of course, if we do see mutas in play. But given that Baneling bust came through, MMA is aware of the fact that it will be a little while until mutas of any sizable number will be able to push out on him if that is, in fact, the choice of Losira eventually. Finally working his way up into layer tech. That's about 50% of the way finished right now. We do, of course, have this hatchery up and running right now, but it's going to actually just be used at the moment for production of units because we aren't seeing really heavy droning. But there we go, finally transitioning into working on some heavy droning, going to be able to work on a strong economy and trying to actually circumvent the main forces. MMA moving across here with the dropship, but that's actually going to get scouted out by the Overlord. The one big advantage that MMA has right now, though, is he will be able to pick off any of those outlying Overlords. Zergling's actually pulling up to try to get ready to engage with this drop, which is coming down right now. These Marines still no Stimpak, but there we go, just about finished. Stimpak and the level 1 upgrade will be finished in just one moment, so this actually could do a bit of damage there once the Stimpak's in play. We do see the burrow coming out, as well as the speed upgrade here for those roaches, and there's also the centrifugal hooks there for the Banelings. They're going to try to move forward and engage those Marines. Marines are lifted up, only losing one. Actually, no, not even losing any, because there was one chilling out over there. So there you go. MMA taking no losses there in that drop. Didn't really do all that much damage, but still doing what he can. We do have a couple Marines chilling out over here, going to Stimpak up, and actually will be engaging Baneling sitting here in the corner. And those are some free kills there for MMA. Really cannot complain about that whatsoever. Trying to catch the edge of the base. He wanted to see if he could catch any buildings or units on the edge. Unfortunately, there was nothing there for him. We do still have this medevac filled up with those Marines. Again, have taken no losses. Just that one Marine at pretty low health, but besides that, not a whole lot lot of Marines consistently streaming out across the board and trying to get these free kills. And it looks like we will be seeing a push right now from MMA moving across the map. Some more Marine droppage going on off at that tower. And precisely why MMA is doing this is because he, of course, wants to control these towers to deny the vision of this push from Losira. He does not want Losira to know that this push is coming. Consistently spreading out just these small forces of Marines to grab Zerglings, grab Overlords, pretty much pick off whatever they can there. So really nice play there by MMA. MMA getting ready for the push right now, stimming some of those Marines in the front. Will be scanning down, dropping all these creep tumors. Again, the whole goal here is to deny that scouting. Wants to pull back there. We can see the siege spread over here. Marines also protecting those siege tanks in the back over there. Continuous scans going down as well, dropping all of that vision. You can see right now Losira's vision is severely inhibited. In fact, he can see none of that push. One Viking moving across the map as well. Already has 2 Overlord kills. Will be trying to work its way into a third. And it looks like actually MMA will be pulling back right now, deciding at this point that he does not want to engage. We do still, of course, have this Overlord moving across the map, but just getting that temporary moment of map control. He still has the towers right now under his possession with these Marines, and so he will be seeing this Zergling force pushing across the map, and we'll be interested to see if he decides to pull on down to engage it. Looks like he will. The Zergling should be able to pull back, though, after getting those first 2 Marine kills, able to pull back right now. Another Marine will be pulling down, actually chasing down the Zergling force. Finally, there we go, pulling back home. He, of course, does not want to get that far. Couple Marines stimming up. We'll be dropping the Overlord over here. So very interesting. Losira basically just completely lost all map control. I can see MMA is grabbing this expansion here as well. Interested to see that that is an orbital command and not a planetary fortress. He will just rely on his own units for personal defense there. Not going to rely on that static planetary fortress. We'll be seeing another drop here as well, again from MMA. MMA really continuing up this harassment here. And a Viking at 3 kills right now. Looks like he will get a ton more as well. Medevac will be getting ready to drop in just one moment. He's actually going to be pulling around into that dark corner. Very nice there. At the same time, though, big push coming across the map from Losira. Some nice tank spread here from MMA. Tanks on the high ground. Marines pulling down finally to engage. There are a lot of roaches and banelings here, and they might actually try to be just circumventing the main forces here of tanks, and will be trying to just roll right into the expansion, and that is in fact what they're going to be doing. But Marines and Marauders pulling down, luring them right into the siege line, and unfortunately for Losira, taking heavy losses right there. Couple of roaches and banelings pulling in the main, but lost a majority of the forces because of having to deal with that bio and luring his units right into that tank line. And unfortunately, Losira not doing nearly as much damage. He did hit that resource line, but I think a bunch of those SCVs did get pulled away, so he didn't take too many losses there. Here's the drop in the main from MMA, sniping down the Baneling's nest. Should be picking up those Marines as well. There we go, finally picking up the Marines. And at the same time, he will be heading across the map. Tons of tanks, Marines mixed in there as well. I think we saw a Marauder or 2. There we go, a couple Marauders to deal with any buildings as well as those roaches. Are going to help quite a bit right now. And this is not looking too good for Losira. He, of course, has taken heavy losses in comparison to MMA. Siege tanks going up a little bit late. Marines finally able to reinforce, but heavy splash damage. Also, those mutas taking out those tanks. There's still a lot of Marines, though. This is going to be a bit much to contend with. We've got a ton of Zerglings coming out right now from Losira, but will it be enough? Here we go, pulling back into the main. Another drop from the other corner. He's already taken out the Baneling Nest, still doing continuous damage, dropping in the back here as well, and tons of Marines rolling right up into this Expo, doing lots of damage. Going to be sniping down the layer, and this will be a big loss for Losira, and Losira just calling the GG. Losira started this game out with 15 hatch into Extractor and Pool for that quick metabolic boost, while MMA decided to open up with some Infernal Preigniter Hellions for map control and then moving into his expansion. MMA moved out with his Infernal Preigniter Hellions, and although he wasn't able to do much damage, one thing he did spot was the Banelings that were in play here from Losira, and as such he was able to respond and try to defend himself against the ensuing counterattack. As expected, Losira's counterattack came, and MMA was prepared with the Marines on the ledge. He was able to snipe a couple of Banelings before they actually reached the depots, buying him valuable time to snipe down some Zerglings before they ran right into the main, drastically cutting back on those Zergling numbers, and as such, allowed him to actually mop them up without taking too many losses. Although he did lose that tank there, you can see just a few Zerglings remaining after that engagement, and he was able to mop those up very quickly after that point. MMA then began his drop harassment, first moving on to the third, which was actually quickly responded to by Losira and forced him to pull back. But at the same time, MMA did have a dropship of Marines right outside of the main base and was able to snipe out some basically straggler Banelings. Being very active with his mid-game forces, MMA moved out for map control of both towers and then went into some sniping of creep tumors here. As you can see, scanning down, sniping down all of these creep tumors, giving himself some more map control and denying some more vision of Losira. Around the 16-minute mark, Losira did push out to try to go for a counterattack. He unfortunately walked by this high ground placement and nice tank spread here of MMA, taking some pretty heavy losses at that point. Now in response to that, he tried to actually circumvent the forces to roll right into that expansion, but was actually lured in by this bio here. You can see he's going to pull forward to engage MMA, luring down those roaches and banelings right into the tank line. That's where Losira took some very heavy losses without doing any damage whatsoever, and pretty much just had dwindling forces remaining after that. Now, although Losira was able to take out a few SCVs here, as you can see, he lost pretty much all of his attacking force as a result, and then at that point, MMA was just able to push out with a counterattack to secure the victory. So that was game number 2 here between MMA and Losira. We're going to be moving on to game number 3 in just one moment. As always, guys, if you like the content, please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep watching and keep owning.